off.
Chiefs-Niners, surprise, surprise. Patrick Mahomes beats the San Francisco 49ers. Who would have seen it coming? Crazy. 28-18, this one in San Francisco. This was tough for San Francisco, dealing with a lot of injuries. We'll get to that in a second. But for the Chiefs, who won this game, their top-graded player was tight end Noah Gray, a 90.1 overall grade in this one. Linebacker Leo Chanel next on the list with an 86.4. Offensive guard Joe Tooney with an 83.2. And then linebacker Nick Bolton getting in the action as well, 81.4. Offensive tackle Jawan Taylor with a 77.4 to round things out. Patrick Mahomes in this one, 71.5. Then we go over to San Francisco side of things. Tight end George Kittle continues to be a mainstay along their offense, 86.3. Offensive guard Aaron Banks with a 79.9. Offensive tackle Colton McKivitz with a 72.5. Edge rusher Nick Bosa, 72.1. Or 72.0, excuse me. And then cornerback Charvarius Ward with a 69.7. Brock Purdy in this game struggled. 54.6. What was the stat that told the story here, Dalton?
Brock Purdy caving under pressure for once.
Truly, it feels like it.
We really don't see it often. It was actually, for me, I thought a little bit jarring to see. 13 dropbacks under pressure, 2 for 8 for 2 yards and 2 interceptions, and a 23.8 passing grade. I think Steve Spagnuolo, he blitzed a decent amount. I don't think a crazy amount. He also, to me, what I saw, you just don't see the same look twice in a row. And I think he knew he had the advantage with all of the Niners' injuries at wide receiver now, and knowing his guys, that I would argue that's the best secondary in the league. They just have so many guys. I think I just saw Jalen Watson fractured his ankle, which is unfortunate because he's a really good young player. But you've got Trent McDuffie, you've got Josh Williams, you've got it's safety Shamari Connor was really good in this game. I mean, there's just so many pieces in their secondary, and they made Brock Purdy hesitate, right? And when they make him hesitate in the pocket, and he's rotating safeties and doing simulated pressures and changing coverages, and you never know what's coming. Purdy under pressure had a lot of issues in this game, and you don't usually see him under pressure be flustered. You don't usually see the turnovers. You also don't usually see a team that doesn't have their top 3 wide receivers. I mean, it really, a lot of it went against the Niners in this game, and it just eventually got in on Purdy being this usually so good under pressure, so good at improvising and dealing with what's in front of him, but this was too much for him to handle. I think he absolutely will bounce back in future weeks, next week, whenever. But against this defense, you need all your horses, and you need to be at the very top of your game. And the entire Niners passing game just was not there, obviously.
I'll go to the other side. I think the stat that told the story is just more kudos to Andy Reid and the type of offensive mind that he is. It's the Chiefs' offensive diversity, okay? You don't have a stud wide receiver one. Rashee Rice is not there. Juju Smith-Schuster's not even there, who had 130 yards for them the week before. Travis Kelce is not the receiver that he once was. You don't even have Isaiah Pacheco in this game anymore because of the injury, and he's sidelined for a while now. And what do they do? Well, 6 different players received 1 carry when it comes to the rushing game. 7 different players caught at least 1 pass, and 9 different players saw at least 1 target. They are more than, it feels like so many other teams, they are so willing to trust every single player on their roster. And of course, having Patrick Mahomes as the guy to throw them the ball makes things a lot easier because he's in the GOAT conversation. So it makes it possible that you could do things like this. But you also have an offensive coordinator that's not afraid to put players in position to go out there and make plays. So just the overall offensive diversity of, okay, sure, Tyreek Hill's not here anymore. We don't have Rashee Rice. Travis Kelce isn't what he used to be. We don't even have Juju Smith-Schuster. We don't have Isaiah Pacheco. Like, it doesn't matter.
And isn't it fitting that he keeps – I know they didn't have Smith-Schuster this week, but you know what? When Andy Reid, when he might need a weapon and Rashee Rice goes down, he gets a couple of guys, and Pacheco goes down too. He gets a couple of guys that he knows and trusts, right? You go get Juju Smith-Schuster. You go get Kareem Hunt, who doesn't have the step that he used to. But
Mecole Hardman.
Mecole Hardman.
Back on the team.
Keep going old reliable at several of these spots. And you know what? He pretty much tells him, if you do your job, you'll get the football. And because 15 is going to get you the football. But Andy Reid, I think you have to appreciate in a game, especially like this, in San Francisco, where you go, just one of the great offensive minds of all time. If not, does he start getting into the argument for number 1 eventually?
Who?
If we were talking about just the greatest offensive play callers ever. Where's Andy Reid?
High.
Do we start
very high?
Do we start getting into maybe he's number 1?
Right. Yeah. No. I think that we're firmly in that world now. We are firmly in that world of Andy Reid getting that recognition for what he's doing. But look, the Chiefs are undefeated. Last undefeated team in the NFL, I believe.
Yep.
This past game gave me more faith in them moving forward than any of the previous 5 that they won, just because of how they were able to win. How much can you take? This whole season has been, how much can you take away from this Chiefs offense? And can Patrick Mahomes still do it for you?
Doesn't matter because it's defense, too.
You have the offensive line to be able to do it, and then you got Steve Spagnuolo, who I tweeted this out yesterday. I know that assistant coach has their own award, like there's assistant coach of the year. Steve Spagnuolo's got a case to be named just regular head coach of the year. And I know it's not going to happen because they separate the awards for a reason, but it always feels less, right? It just feels less, assistant coach of the year, whatever. Put Steve Spagnuolo in the conversation for coach of the year.
And for all those young kids that they have, and my most impressive I'll start with, because they just have got a bunch of young, versatile guys. I'll go with Leo Chenal in this game. Feels like every time we do a Chiefs game, I just pick a different one of these young defensive players. I think it's finally the second time.
Joys of doing a Chiefs game.
Yeah, I mean, 88.4 overall, 92.5 coverage grade, 3 stops, a forced incompletion, a forced fumble, had a pressure as a pass rusher, even though he missed the tackle on Purdy, could have had a sack, was darn near there. This is just another example of a guy who Steve Spagnuolo can do everything with. He's at linebacker, so he can cover, he can go off the edge, he can blitz through the A-gap. It does not matter. And he just has so many guys like this. The Chiefs value versatility on defense more than anything. Chenal all over the place. Shamari Connor all over the place. Trent McDuffie inside outside. They have
He's got to be a good football player.
I mean, and yeah, if you're a good player who just has, I mean, and all of them have wicked high football IQs. I mean, if you look at his defense and the number of things they rotate and the blitz calls and all the different, they're not just a team that lines up in cover 3 every play. We know this. It's a different look every single play and all the complicated stuff. And then week to week, what he's game planning every week is different. Like, they have a bunch of young kids with such high football IQs, and they're such movable pieces. It doesn't even matter. It felt like it used to be with the Chiefs defense. Well, how do you beat them? Well, you probably run right at them, right? You out physical them. We've seen like Derrick Henry used to beat him, things like that. Right now, it's not. You just have to be better than them because they have a different game plan, and the versatile players like a Chenal, who's wicked physical. At any point, he could tackle George Kittle, or he can run down the field and force a fumble in coverage or do things like that. I mean, there's just so many guys like this on this defense that they're just chess pieces. They're not just guys who are like, okay, you plug this gap and you play deep third. They have so many chess pieces on their defense that Spagnuolo has to work with. They can play any style of football they want. It doesn't matter. It's why they could beat a high-flying team like the Bengals, or they could beat a physical team like the Niners or the Ravens. I think you have to put them in the argument. I mean, it feels like to me every time I talk about the Chiefs' defense with somebody, they go, well, they're pretty good, but they're not the best defense in football. Why not?
They're a top 3 defense in the NFL.
Easily. And honestly, for as many things as they do, and you still have a Hall of Famer in there at defensive tackle, I go, why aren't they considered the best defense in football?
Pittsburgh's playing really well. The Ravens, especially their front's playing really well. But I
think Pittsburgh for me might be the only other one.
Right. Yeah. The Chiefs are, if they're not 1, they're 2.
Yeah. But it feels like, I don't know, when I talk to, maybe they're just not the ball knowers of the world, where they're like, they're okay. They got some. I'm like, no, this is an elite unit that shuts people down every week.
Yep. I agree with you completely. My most impressive, look, I know he got trucked by Patrick Mahomes at the goal line, and that's admittedly not a great look. Malik Mustafa, I think, played well in this game. I think he's just been playing well overall. His PFF grades are a little bit lower in this one, but they ask him to do a lot. I think he's playing free safety. He's playing in the box. He'll come up and hit you all the times. He'll come from depth to make tackles at the line of scrimmage. Just the tone-setting play in which he plays with, and the play style and the play speed that he has. I'm always so impressed with Malik Mustafa whenever I turn on his 49ers tape. So to me, he was the most impressive in this one. Most disappointing is just the overall Niners injuries. We talked about it with the Los Angeles Rams. You get Deebo Samuel out due to an illness. Ayuk might have an ACL tear. That's the early rumor. Certainly hope not. And McCaffrey obviously has not played this season. You got Juwan Jennings missing this game due to a hip injury. Hufanga's out. Javon Hargrave is out, going back a couple of weeks as well. And so this is a team that's just really beat up. They got a lot of really talented players, and they're really beat up. And that's what's most disappointing to me, because I don't feel like the 49ers are. It feels like the 49ers window is closing against their will. And it's just some bad luck injuries that I think are really going into this for them, that we're now seeing some struggles on both sides of the ball for them. But most disappointing for you?
Same thing.
Okay.
I actually think with the caliber of players that are hurt for them. We still haven't seen Christian McCaffrey this year. If Ayuk is done for the year, you talk about Javon Hargrave being done for the year. Talanoa Hufanga, who I've talked about as a big X factor for their defense. It makes you really, really doubt the Niners can get back to the Super Bowl or win it, let alone win it. I mean, those are such huge names. It's especially Ayuk to me. He's their best.
Well, yeah, that's
he's their best
That's
pure
very tough.
receiver. I mean, you just paid him $30 million a year, and for good reason. He's one of the best receivers in football. It's tough. It's tough this time around. They're going to be. First of all, before we even get to Super Bowl, I mean, they're going to be gutting it out to win this division. Honestly, it's not a bad division. Did Seattle pull back ahead of them now, or are the Niners still tied for first? I forget. The standings. I didn't look at the standings this morning. But either way, it's going to be tight in that division. And then if they're trying to win the NFC with all these injuries, it's starting to get harder to see how they're going to do it.